Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We're excited to have Tristen Sky joining us here live on the podcast and on the Zoomcast. And again, we're going to talk today with our psychic medium about Reiki, energy healing, inner child healing, and so much more. First and foremost, welcome back to the show, and I'm glad you're feeling better, Tristen.
Hiya, thank you for having me. Yes, last week I was sick as a dog, so couldn't really be on camera. I love to be pretty, so it wouldn't have worked out. So I'm glad I'm
Oh,
here now. Yeah.
great. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. Let me ask, first and foremost, how do we reach you? Tell us the website. Even though I know it, how do we find you?
Oh, thank you. You're sweet. So yes, my name is Tristen Sky. So if people want a session with me, they can go to www.tristensky.com. I'm also quite active on Instagram, tristan.sky, on Facebook as well. And my email is info@tristensky.com.
Awesome. And you're hailing live today from Ontario, Canada, right? And I know you see most of your clients around the world live like this via Zoom. And
Correct.
that's also another benefit of, technology today. So, you can hone in on all your psychic medium skills, and there's so much that he does. But today I
Mhm.
know we're going to focus a little on Reiki. And I know there's practitioners, but there's also Reiki masters. You happen to be a Reiki master. Could you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yes. So Reiki was actually the very first modality that I've ever studied. And there's basically three levels of Reiki. There's Reiki level one, Reiki level two, and then Reiki level three. And that's when you become a master. And that's what I did. I became a Reiki master slash teacher. So, I was doing energy healing for a really long time. And I absolutely love it because it helped me heal myself and, of course, help other people heal themselves. But while I was doing energy healing, I would start to like see things and feel things and like sense a grandma or something. So then I kind of pivoted into psychic medium stuff. However, I feel like Reiki and energy healing, it's infused in all my sessions. Like there's energy healing, I feel like sometimes happening in the background. So I adore Reiki. I really, really do. Although I technically don't really do it anymore. It's still something that's a part of my everyday practice. But that's how I got into Reiki. Yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
well, we're excited that you're here to talk more about this and how you can help so many because um are there different types of Reiki masters? Could you share that?
Yes. There's some people that work specifically with animals. There's some people that work specifically for like a certain part of the body, like the nervous system, or there's some people that specify Reiki for like the womb and like reproductive systems and things like that. For me, I kind of go with Reiki, which is a holistic approach. So it's like physical healing, it's emotional healing, it's spiritual healing, and it's mental healing for sure. Um, and like I said, I adore it. And one thing that's really cool is that it doesn't have to be done in person. So, like I said, I see clients through Zoom and energy travels. So, you don't have to be with someone in the physical for energy healing to take place. For instance, someone could be across the world, whatever. Sometimes I'll get them to lay down like in their bed or something, and I'll kind of do Reiki on their hologram, which sounds kind of hocus pocusy, but that is a lot of time what distant healing is. It's kind of like you're doing Reiki on an invisible person, let's say, but the actual person feels the benefits. For instance, with my sister, or was it,
Mm-hmm.
or my mom, I forget who it was, but like I was doing Reiki on their hologram. So kind of like they weren't with me. They're in Ottawa and I'm in Sudbury. And it's like I would feel things in the body as if they were right in front of me, which is really cool. So you can do energy healing on a hologram.
Ooh, didn't know that. All right, all right. And that's awesome. Universal healing, you say. Could you share how you place certain energy inside clients? How does that work?
Sure. So, yes, there is universal healing. So Reiki, that's literally what Reiki is. It's universal healing. So it's kind of like the energy healing doesn't come from me. It doesn't come from the person. Energy healing, Reiki, it comes from like the love and light from above us, which is what I like to say. So it's almost like we're just a vessel. So energy flows through us, like from above us, through us, and then onto the client. So we're not necessarily healing people. It's almost just being the vessel of healing. And then it almost ignites healing within the person. So again, like all healers, we don't heal people. It's that we ignite the healing within a person, which is, I think, special to note. But that would be the universal healing, yeah.
All right, thank you. So you say you don't heal, but
Right.
you're helping people heal themselves. Could you explain that exactly, what a healer is?
Well, that is what a healer is. It's exactly that. It's
Oh,
not healing people, but it's helping people heal themselves. So that's what that is.
got it. Okay, so that's so weird. As a healer, I thought you're a healer, but I guess it's going back and forth. What came first, chicken or the egg type of thing. I got it. I got it. No, but I'm going back in a circle saying, but you are a healer, but you're going to say, well, no, I'm not, but you
Well,
are.
it is. It's like that's the title. It
Got
really
it,
is
got it,
like
got it, got it, got it.
healer, but yeah, it's not because I'm not doing it. I don't have any magic powers in me. It
Mhm.
flows through me,
It's
and
your,
then
yes. Okay, got it. Now,
yeah.
how do you do this distance wise? I mean, because people sometimes might be a little skeptical, like, well, don't I have to see you, touch you? No.
No, of course. It's the same thing with like psychic messages, like in the physical world, let's say I need a haircut. Well, yes, you have to do that in person. You want to get your makeup done, it has to be in person. But when we get into the metaphysical, the energy healing realm, psychic, all that stuff, it does not have to be in person and it can be done through Zoom. And sometimes I want to say even more effective through Zoom sometimes because I feel like when it's in person, it's like there's egos in the way, and then we talk and then we hug. And it's, sometimes when it's through Zoom, I can get right into the work, right into the energy. It's almost easier to tap into like the subconscious of a person. It's almost easier to tap into the other side when someone's not literally right in front of me. So sometimes I find it's even more effective, through Zoom. But yeah, it's all metaphysical, it's all spiritual, it's all magical and it is effective. I guess you just have to try it out and see. That's what I say.
Hey, well, can you tell us, I know you do this. What are some of the things it helps with, can, help people heal with? And I know you're also helping people heal themselves in a sense.
Yeah. Well, for instance, I feel like I had to heal myself, and I'm not the only one. I'm sure a lot of people have hit rock bottom. A lot of people could have, hard things like divorce or death or bankruptcy. Like there's so many harsh things of life. And then, yeah, you can just give up and, bad things can happen. And anyways, I was at a really low point in my life once upon a time, I think in 2018, and I had really no choice but to heal myself. So it was through that dark night of the soul, through that really dark, intense journey that I was really able to understand what healing is and love and compassion for myself. And then I did it. I healed myself. And then it kind of helped me learn what healing is. And then I was able to heal other people, like help other people heal themselves as well. So, um, yeah.
Yay. All right. Well, do you want to break it down to some specifics, some of the things that you can, help people guide them to healing with? Or do you want to talk into, about how do you heal? There's like 4 steps of acknowledgement. I don't know if I'm jumping the gun or not.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I created it, but like I kind of discovered how healing works. Okay. So I kind of want to talk about it. And again,
Sure.
anyone could be healing from anything. Like I said, divorce, breakup, loss, death of a pet, who knows? But life's not perfect. It's not daisies and rainbows. So there's going to be a moment in our lives where we're going to have to heal. And I feel like most people don't prioritize that. People will, I don't know, they'll get drunk or they'll get high or they'll just play games. They kind of just like ignore these really tough things. But to really go through it and face it head on is the most magical thing. So I really encourage people to go deep within. Okay, so what I came to discover, it's like 4 steps. How do you heal? So let's say, you're having a good day and la di da, everything's great. And then you get this memory of the past of when you almost drowned, or you remember when your dad died, or something like that. And then you're just hit in the face with sadness and suffering. Well, the first step, I think, is acknowledgement. It's awareness. So it's really being aware, like, okay, I'm suffering right now. Like something's not going well. Like having that awareness, I think, is the icebreaker. It's like the first step through. So it's just being aware. Because even then, that's sometimes the hardest. People just kind of put things aside and be like, oh, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Actually, maybe I'll talk about my sister again. The other day,
Oh,
she was like, because something happened and she's like, I'm fine. Like, everything's fine. And I was like, you're not. I was like, you have to be aware and realize that you're not fine. I had to like kind of take her down a bit because she thought she was. I was like, Tess, you're not. She's a Leo, though. Leos are too proud. They're too proud to be vulnerable. So, anyway, step one, acknowledgement, right?
okay.
And then step two, I think, is mindfulness. So this is the introspection and looking within. So this is like, why do I feel this way? or what is the lesson here? What happened? Like being a little bit more like a hunter, like we're hunting something down, like really trying to find that thing that made us hurt. If it's our father, this or this dying, it's because I'm scared of being alone, or I'm scared of whatever. So it's just like having that awareness, finding that lesson. And to me, this is like mental power. It's like really trying to figure something out. So it really is looking within. Make sense?
I think so. And compassion, right? That's the next step. So, step
Yep.
two is
Fitting.
mindfulness. You mentioned shadow work, building
Yes.
awareness. Why am I hurt? What's the lesson here? And how could I improve myself? All right. Moving on to number three. What is this? Compassion and
Well, love, but loving kindness. So to me, this was the hardest step actually back in my day because I used to be quite mean to myself. I used to say really bad things and like, oh, I'm ugly, I'm stupid, I don't matter. I used to do a lot of self-undoing, and now I'm the complete opposite. I'm so gentle and compassionate with myself and others. But yes, so this one, it's like a verb. It's like, it's not just thoughts, it's not just thinking, it's not just, being introspection. It's about doing, it's about loving yourself. So it's hugging yourself, it's being gentle with yourself. It's the very feminine practice in the four steps. So this is the goddess being sweet and sensitive with ourselves. And that is truly when we heal. It's almost like putting a salve on a wound, like a physical wound, where I feel like sometimes we could be bleeding emotionally. It's what I like to say. Like if you just got a heartbreak, it's like you got shot in the chest. It's like you're bleeding, not physically, but it's like you're bleeding emotionally, right? So the compassion, it's like the band-aid, it's the salve, it's what heals. So that's step three, compassion, loving kindness. Yes. And again, it seems so simple, but so many people don't do it. They're not gentle with themselves. So yes. Also, I saw you place a hand on your heart. I caught you. Yes, you did. I love that. Yes.
I'm reading my notes and I'm following through. That's what you said to do.
Yes, that's so true. But it's really legit. It's kind of like if you hurt yourself, if you cut yourself or something, our automatic response is to like hold it. Like if I hurt or if I bruise myself, we want to like hold it. It's our automatic somatic response. It really is because, we love from our hands. We hold hands with people, we hug our hands, they're chakras. It's a magical place. So hand on the heart, automatically the heart starts to relax and the heart starts to heal. It's so simple, but I even have to remind myself to do that sometimes. I'm like, hey, Tristan, hand on the heart. I feel connected to my love. I feel loving kindness. And yeah, it's so simple, but so easy. I feel like this should be taught in school. And then the last step would be
Mhm.
protection. So to me, this is when we step into the divine masculine. So we did the feminine, the nurturing, the crying, the healing, the I love myself. Yes. Step four, which again is sometimes not talked about in healing, is protection. So this is the masculine, is what I like to say. It's almost like when the stereotypical father, it's like, don't cry, get to work, or, you know, chin up. I don't know. But there's a medicine here as well, because once we heal ourselves, is to understand that we're not like little children anymore, that we're adults, that we are capable of defending ourselves now, and that we are strong and capable. So there's almost like a lifting of the yang energy, a masculine type of energy. And that's kind of like the last step, but it's the last step. Even often in men or people that kind of go straight to that step, they ignore the introspection, they ignore the healing, they just toughen up, but they don't do the clearing, the cleansing, the awareness steps first. So that's the very last steps. It's once you do the awareness, the intuition, the introspection, the healing, that's when you can put your armor back on and toughen up, if that makes sense.
You said we can protect and defend ourselves now. We're no longer in those images of the past. My dear young self. You should
Yeah.
know that we have grown up. All right. What tools do we use for this?
Well, couple tools that I use that I help. So if anyone's needing some love and some healing right now, I hear you. Rose quartz crystal. I love my crystals. You know that they have an energy, they have a frequency. Rose quartz, it's pink, it's gentle, it's super intuitive. My gosh, I wish I could eat it sometimes. I just love that stone so much. It's a very gentle frequency, so you can definitely sleep with it, hold it. It really helped me love and heal myself. So that's another one. And flowers, once again, I love me some
Hmm.
flowers, specifically rose. So, rose essential oil, rose flowers, it has a very gentle and loving energy. But one thing I wanted to say too about healing, it's sometimes these go from a long time ago. Like sometimes something traumatic could happen in childhood or in past, and then it's only coming up in adulthood, like only coming up now. So, what I want to talk about is consciousness. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I took a sip. Okay, so there's like the conscious mind, subconscious mind, and unconscious mind, which I'm sure we talked about before together, Jill. But like the conscious mind is the things we know. So it's like right now we're talking and I see stuff. And then the subconscious, it's like our dreams,
What
it's
you're
this yeah,
thinking,
you
or
kind of, well, not what we're thinking, but it's like again, I always like to use this example. It's like, let's say consciously, I'm like, I'm not racist. I love everyone. But subconsciously, I'm kind of racist. Well, then I
mm-hmm.
will not consciously pick a black person to join my soccer team or something like that. That's the subconscious. It's kind of like your engine or like the driver, but it's like we're not really aware of it. So, does that make sense? Also,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm not racist. It's just an example.
Yeah.
But that's what I see in a lot of people where people will be like homophobic or transphobic, but they say they're not, but subconsciously they are. So I'm like, that's something here. And then the unconscious, the things we don't know what we don't know. So it's basically when we're dead asleep and it's just black, that's the unconscious mind. But
Mm.
another thing I learned when I studied with the Buddhist Thich Nhat Hanh, I read his book, he talks about store consciousness. And to me, what I picture this as, it's almost like a drawer in the back of the brain where we keep stuff, but we don't look at. So for instance, let's say like you're studying for the school. Well, let's say you have a test tomorrow. It's like all this stuff is fresh in your brain. We keep it at the forefront. But let's say something really bad happens, traumatic when we're young, and we kind of want to forget about it. We'll just store it in the back. It's like in the store consciousness, but it still exists. So when something bad happens, it's almost like it's still there. For instance, let's say I
Okay.
almost drowned when I was a kid. Let's say I almost drowned,
Mm.
and it was really traumatic. And I actually almost did almost drown.
Did
So
you? Okay, I didn't know if that was a okay. Okay.
it actually did almost happen. It was traumatic, my gosh, but I healed it. But anyways, let's say I walk near rivers now and I feel scared. I feel anxiety, like my body starts to freak out. That's basically something from my store consciousness that's coming up into the present, right? And this is when we do those 4 steps that I talked about. Awareness. Okay, why am I suffering? Oh, it's because I saw the water, which reminds me when I almost drowned, and then etc.
Interesting. I have this obsession, just a weird take of with Dateline 2020, 48 hours. I'm always watching these crime mysteries, and I got my kids into them at 7 and 9, but I'm just fascinated by it. So like I don't know if that means anything. Like, was I murdered in a past life? Did I murder someone? Why am I so obsessed with these shows? Like, is that kind of like what you're saying? Like you tune into,
Yes, yes.
oh my
Well,
gosh.
firstly, what I was talking about was something that happened in this life. So
Got it. Oh, okay.
yes.
But like the water, like
However,
what if you don't remember you drown? Like, or the people who
yes,
scared of water and it was a past life
yes.
where
So for instance, 2 things. One time I know someone who was sexually assaulted and it was so traumatic, it's like it vanished in her brain. She forgot about it, right? But then I'll take again my sister. So my sister had, and my sister always gives me the okay. She's like, talk about me as much as you want. I'm like, perfect. So, but in a past life, she had a dog. Her dog died in a past life. So, and then and so in this life, she had a really deep, sad, overprotective
mm-hmm.
connection with her dog. It's because it was like the aftermath of the before life. And it's so interesting how like, yeah, if someone people die in a car crash, they're scared of cars. Like it is really interesting how our past life, although we forget it, like we forget our past lives for a reason, but they do trickle into this life. So for you, yes, perhaps you were a 911 operator. I don't know what show this is. What kind of show is this?
Dateline 2020, they're all like murder investigation shows where people are murdering people. And I'm just like fascinated. Like, how could someone get away with murder and do this? But I'm so intrigued by it. Like, I'm thinking, was I ever murdered in a past life or was I a murderer? I don't think so, but you never know. Like, I just
Maybe.
fascinated that people get away with these crimes or they think they do it and they're just like on the run. And even like these cold cases are being solved like 20, 30 years later. And it's just like with DNA. And I'm just like, wow. How do they not know it was that person? And it just fascinating. Sorry.
That is really fun. That's cool. Then I would, yeah, definitely look within and see why I'm interested in that. Like what
Maybe
is
I was a
happening?
detective. I don't know. I hope I was not on the crime side, but you never know.
Well, sometimes, yeah. Some you could have been. Who knows? We're not all humans, we're not perfect. In a past life, I'm sure we've all done bad things. So maybe, but you seem like a good soul. I'm sure you weren't a murderer.
I
That's
know, I
funny.
hope not. All right, all right. But you also back to the notes. I'm sorry, but like you say things are like passed on, right? Like suffering, for example, from our parents or in the genetic line, right? So that's always passed on too. How does this is all about inner child healing now?
Yeah. Okay. So, for instance, I always like to give this example, which again I learned from Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Buddhist monk. It's like if you look at a leaf, you obviously you just see a leaf, but within it we see non-leaf elements, like for instance, the water that fed the leaf, the sunshine, the nutrients. Like there's so much within it that isn't the leaf. But if you remove those elements, the leaf wouldn't exist. Likewise for us. It's like we are our parents. They are creators. And obviously, I always know, like, I know this. I was like, I know I'm half mom, half dad. Like, I know this. But to me, I thought it was just like physical. Like, I kind of look like my dad and kind of look like I have my mom's hair and all these things. But as a spiritual person, I came to realize that it's so much more than that. It's that we are also the emotional, the mental, the spiritual of them as well. So, although we all have our own souls, like we each have our own unique soul that's specifically us, our makeup is really made from our parents and their parents and their parents. So, it's all that ancestral line. For instance, let's say a mother is anxious and super worried and like she's pregnant. Well, that baby is being made like from her, and that baby can like take on that anxiety and that worriedness. And then that child will kind of get anxiety when they grow up. It happens naturally that we are our parents, good and bad. Of course, if your father was this and whatever, but we are made from our parents. And I came to realize, kind of like we can't take out the sunshine and the water out of the leaf, that I can't take mom and I can't take dad out of who I am either. So, for instance, let's say my dad, or I don't use an exact, and this is just an example, so it's not actually from me, but let's say my father was super aggressive and like rude and all these things, and he was aggressive and rude to me. And then likely I might be aggressive and rude to my children. Subconsciously, I might not realize it. So again, I kind of have to heal my inner child, so the child within me, and then also the inner child within him. So it's very complicated. So I think I'll kind of break it down, but I spend a lot of time studying inner child healing for sure.
Yeah, I always hear the whole terminology inner child healing. I never really knew what it was, to be honest with you. I hear it all the time, and I never really knew.
So,
So
so let's talk about it.
could you
Yes.
give me another example?
Yeah. So inner child healing. So again, with me. Okay. So we are all like we are ourselves at 5. We are like the teenager is still within me, the 7-year-old is still within me. Like we are all levels of who we are, right? And for instance, as a child, like I'm very different now than when I was a child. Like when I was a child, I was very quiet, very introspective. Well, I mean, I still kind of am those things, but very quiet, very introspective, very gentle. And then once I became a teenager, I was expressive and fashion and makeup, and I was loud. So it's almost like I was a different version of who I am. Anyways, that child is still there in me. And sometimes that child wants to play. Like for me, flowers. I'll see flowers and I just want to run in the flowers, or I just want to paint because I loved to paint when I was a kid. Or, the child is still in every single one of us. We all have an inner child. Yeah. And
Hmm.
we suppress it often. We're adults and blah, blah. I get it. But sometimes that child is wounded. Almost all of them are because of something, a mom, a dad, a this or whatever. That child in us is wounded. I'm sorry. It is. And we don't address it. We don't go to that inner child. So it's almost like separating yourself in two. It's like, okay, I'm adult Jill, but then inside me is younger Jill. So it's almost like I have to love and hug and hold the younger version of me. And perhaps this is done in visualization or meditation or just energy healing or just sending love to that inner child of who you are. But for me specifically, I had to do a lot of inner child work just because like when I was a kid, I went through a lot of stuff. So I had no choice but to heal, younger
Hmm.
Tristen. So that's inner child healing. But when it ties into our parents, it's the same thing. Our parents have an inner child as well and also needs healing. So perhaps my dad, if I see him as a 5-year-old, perhaps, he was yelled at or someone was aggressive or perhaps someone pushed my mom when she was 5. Like I have to, and they are within me. I know it's so fantastical, but it's like we have to heal ourselves, which heals them at the same time. It's like the tree of life. It's like a tree. But that's
Hmm.
inner child healing. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank
Hmm.
you.
Hmm. Of course.
And For the rest of the show today, I know we are going to talk a little more about this inner child healing in our last 5 minutes together and about how can we change this, right? Because
Yeah,
you mentioned sufferings passed on.
it is. Yes.
Yeah.
It is. So I did notice like in this generation too, like it's a like my mom and dad didn't care. They didn't have the awareness of passing on wounds or passing on their stuff, their shit, you know. But like I talk to my cousins and people my age and they're much more cognizant. They're like, "Oh my God, I don't want to ruin my child. You know, if I was super anxious, I want them to be anxious. Like if I was really mean, I don't want them to be mean. Or if I was super unorganized, I don't want them to be unorganized." So the awareness is such the biggest part. It's being aware that, okay,
Okay.
yes, I might mess up my child if I don't, clean myself up. But the first thing is to address your inner child. So if you want to protect your children, is to look at your inner child first. So look at who you are when you are young, the younger version of who you are that's still within you. It's almost like a tree that grows its rings, right? Like if you cut a
Rings.
tree, you see its rings, right? We are just like that. Even people who do energy healing on auras, they can find like traumas in the age because our auras act like that. So like the closest energy to you, it's when you're young and then it moves on. But anyways, yes, just those four steps that I talked about. So like awareness, introspection, compassion, protection, doing that
Mm-hmm.
within the inner child. Also, what I wanted to say, because I know we talk about this often as well, is well, I talk about it, is the four bodies. Like in yoga, what I talk about, we have the emotional body, the spiritual body, the physical body, and the mental body. You can also do healing in all three of these ways as well. For instance, emotional body, that's crying, hand on heart, hand on stomach, feeling, blessing yourself, crying, connecting to that sort of energy. And perhaps the inner child wants to cry. The inner child doesn't feel loved, or the inner child felt, overlooked, or whatever it is. So it's like feeling that, right? Emotional body. Also mental body. So that's thinking awareness. So going within, okay, in
Mm-hmm.
which we talked about, okay, why did my dad do this to me? Or why did my uncle do this to me? Like finding the logistics of things.
Yeah.
Third body is the physical body. And
Okay.
it's so insane how trauma and stress and wounds and stuff can be in the body. So simple things like stretching, I know it seems so simple, but like stretching, yoga, going for runs, it could really like heal you. It's so insane. Like there's somatic practitioners that deal with the body, like tapping, like there's so much that's held within the body. So moving the body is a great way to heal as well. So we did emotional, mental, physical. The last one is spiritual. So this is the meditation, this is Reiki, this is everything magical, connecting to your past loved ones and angels and healing the psyche. So I feel like connecting to all four bodies, it's a really good like starting point to know how to heal or what to heal or whatever. Because some people are just emotional, they just cry, but they don't know why they're crying. Or some people are just physical, they don't think or feel, So we have to kind of holistic look at all four bodies to help heal themselves.
Thank you. All right. So we got to remember this four-step process. And, today's overall show is about, healing, obviously, or us being healers and you being the conduit in a sense, but you're teaching us how to do this,
Yes.
clearly. So it's, and plus I have children, so you wonder what I've transmitted down the line to them already.
Yeah,
You said it's not
I
too
know.
late though, right?
Of course it's not. And the thing is, I know I scare people when I say this. They're like, "Oh my God, did I just ruin my children?" I can't lie to you. Probably. Like we probably sent some wounds or some traits, but we also send all the love and the healing energy, which is sometimes, even better, stronger, So of course, yes, maybe we passed on some unhealthy habits or whatever, but as long as we're focusing on the love a lot more, then that's what matters for sure. And it's not too late. Yes, heal yourself first. Heal you first. The inner child within you. Spend time with her. I think she wants to play.
Oh, well, thank you. We will start doing that, I hope. And we are out of time now. Tell us how we could reach out to you, please.
No, you're so sweet. Yeah, so if anyone wants to go into more energy healing stuff with me, you can book a session with me at www.tristensky.com. I'm also working up on a Reiki level 3 teaching course. So if you're interested in learning Reiki, I'm going to have that up soon as well. So I can teach you how to do energy healing as well. So just keep a lookout on my websites.
All right. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here again. And I guess we'll be back on next week unless we're both sick.
That's so funny. I know. We're not going to be sick. We'll be
No,
here next week.
no. All
I'm
right.
sending healthy vibes.
All right,
Yeah.
good. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you back, and we'll talk next week. Thank you again for everything.
Bye.
Bye to everyone. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.